Open up the regular meeting, Guadalupe City Council, Tuesday, October 14th. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior.
Here.
Councilmember Fernez.
Here.
Councilmember Villegas.
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Here.
And Mayor Julian.
Here, we have a quorum. Will you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Next time is a moment of thanks, appreciation, or condolences. Does anyone wish to? Did we mention that Harry passed?
No, so
Oh, go ahead.
I'd just like to give condolences to the Masatani family for the passing of Harry Masatani, longtime residents here in the city of Guadalupe and contributors through the years. So condolences to them.
Okay. I would just like to thank all the parties that had with the Gaza war and the Palestinian and the Egypt, not Egypt, but the Israel war to stop, at least getting one of the, in a few trigger points literally figured out. So it was too long in coming to fruition. So we'll go to item agenda review. At this time, the city council can review the agenda to see if they want to stay with the way it's presented. Is there any wish to change? None. Next item is community participation. I have one individual that wishes to speak, Mr. Nunes.
Council members, Mayor, thank you for the time tonight. I just am here to give you announcements about some community events that are happening that'll be on the Facebook calendar and things like that. On October 26th at the old city jail, we're going to have the museum is going to put on a event called Halloween at the old city jail. Real creative, but we have a group to work on that title, I tell you. Just kidding. We'll open up the jail to anyone who'd like to peek inside. We'll have small table activities for kids. We'll have candy giveaways and a treasure chest they can rummage around and pull something away. And we'll also have a food truck, a vendor truck. She was at the Kite Day at Jack O'Connell Park earlier this year. I think it's Dawn to Dusk, Belina's Sweet Creations or something like that. So she'll be out there too. That's October 26th, Sunday before Halloween. November 1st, of course, is the Dia de los Muertos event at the cemetery. On November 1st, Saturday, from 3:30 to 5:30, there'll be an open mic for people to memorialize their loved ones. There'll be, I think there'll be one individual playing a guitar and offering some songs, and there'll be a couple food trucks out there along with tables and things like that. It's open to the public. On November 11th, at the cemetery, we'll celebrate Veterans Day with a small ceremony. It'll start at 11 a.m. I don't have all the details yet because I think they're still working out speakers and things like that, but more details to follow. On November 20th, Thursday, there's an event that's not really for the entire public, but it's a summit of historical colleagues in the area. They're going to come and we're going to sit around a table and we're going to share some success stories in our various museums and some challenges that we're facing in our industry. And we're going to be joined by people from the Lompoc Historical Society, the Santa Maria Historical Society, the San Ynez Museum, and an historian from the Vandenberg Space Force Base. So it's going to be a summit that I put together, and it's going to be, I think, the first of its kind. So it's going to be a good start for the Central Coast. And then on December 13th, Saturday, we'll have Wreaths Across America again at the cemetery. And the links are live, but I don't think they're publicized too much. So I'll get them publicized if anyone wants to donate a wreath to be placed on a soldier's, a veteran's grave. We have about 330 veterans right now buried in the Guadalupe Cemetery. So, and we usually reach our quota with we have enough wreaths, but we always take donations too. And the Girl Scout troop will be facilitating it along with the cemetery staff and the American Legion post. So those are some events in this community then. Thank you. Or
Two questions. One
Yeah.
is there Sunday, 10/26. What time is that?
12 to 2.
12 to 2. And then the summit, where and when?
November 20th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we're actually going to use this room right
City
here.
Hall, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Busy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Good.
All right. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? It's not, an item not on the agenda. Okay, we'll go to item 6, ceremonial calendar. Proclamations. I've asked several of the council members to, to read the proclamation. So we'll begin with recognizing October 25th as Filipino American History Month. Ms. Villegas.
Recognizing October 2025 as Filipino American History Month, whereas the heritage of the Filipino people enriches our own culture, and we welcome the history, culture, and contributions of the Filipino American community in our city, state, and the nation. And whereas the Filipino American History Month was established in 1988 to commemorate the arrival of the first Filipinos who landed in what is now Morro Bay, California, on October 18th, 1587. And whereas the Filipino American National Historical Society, FANHS, recognizes the year 1763 as the date of the first permanent Filipino settlement in the United States in St. Malo Parish, Louisiana. Whereas the California Department of Education first recognized October as Filipino American History Month in 2006 by placing it on its celebrations calendar, while the 111th Congress of the United States and the California State Legislature also gave recognition. And whereas for generations, the United States of America has been fortified by the talents and efforts of its diverse residents of Filipino descent, and whereas the Filipino American community continues to accomplish its goals to foster understanding through the development, promotion, and preservation of Filipino values, culture, and tradition. These citizens have truly made a difference, and their professional and civic involvement will continue to enrich our communities far into the future. Now therefore be it resolved that by the virtue vested in the mayor and on behalf of the City Council of the City of Guadalupe, we do hereby recognize October 2025 as Filipino American History Month, and invite the community to study and explore the advancement of Filipino American culture, people, traditions, and values that have positively enriched our community.
Thank you. The next proclamation is recognizing October 25th, 2025 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Whereas breast cancer is one of the most commonly diagnosed cancers among women, and whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month began in 1985 as a partnership between the American Cancer Society and Imperial Chemical Industries Pharmaceuticals, AstraZeneca, and whereas the emotional, physical, and financial burdens of breast cancer significantly impact not only patients, but also their families, caregivers, and communities, requiring comprehensive support and resources for all those affected. And whereas the American Cancer Society has searched endlessly for a cure through vital research and has the mammoth task of educating our community and all Americans of the risks of breast cancer. And whereas increased breast cancer screening increases early detection, reduces death, increases life expectancy, decreases late-stage cancer diagnoses, and increases 5-year survival rates. And whereas this is an opportunity for the City of Guadalupe and all of our community to go pink in October to raise awareness, promote early screening, and honor those affected by breast cancer. Now, therefore, be it resolved that by the virtue of the authority vested in the mayor and on behalf of the city council of the city of Guadalupe, we do hereby proclaim the month of October 2025 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and ask all Guadalupe to join in this worthwhile cause to celebrate successes and memorialize lost battles.
Thank you. The next item is recognizing October 13th, 2025 as Indigenous Peoples' Day. Ms. Hernandez.
Whereas the city of Guadalupe is located on the ancestral lands of indigenous people who have stewarded these lands for generations, and we honor their enduring relationship with this region. And whereas Indigenous Peoples' Day recognizes and celebrates the rich cultural tradition, contributions, and resilience of Native people past and present. Whereas California is home to more Native American tribes than any other state, each with unique histories, language, and cultures that continue to thrive and enrich our community today. And whereas the Central Coast region, including the land on which Guadalupe now stands, is historically home to the Chumash people, whose deep connection to the land, water, and natural resources endures and is a vital part of the region heritage. And whereas for many years, Indigenous voices and history have been marginalized or misrepresented, and this day serves as a step towards truth, healing, and justice. And whereas the city of Guadalupe values diversity, inclusion, and equity, and reaffirms its commitment to uplifting Indigenous communities and preserving Indigenous heritage. And whereas recognizing Indigenous Peoples' Day encourages reflection, education, and dialogue that fosters mutual respect and a more accurate understanding of our shared history. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the virtue of the mayor and on behalf of the city council of the city of Guadalupe, we do hereby proclaim October 13th as Indigenous Peoples' Day in the city of Guadalupe and encourage all residents to honor and celebrate the contributions and cultures of Indigenous people through our community and across the nation.
Thank you. You know, last month we covered Hispanic, we've covered a lot of important cultural information, historical information that makes up Guadalupe and the area around us. So it's always good to bring these items up for public discussion and observation. So thank you all for reading that. Next item is a consent calendar. The following items are presented to the council as a single agenda, a single approval item. Is there any council person that wishes to pull an item on the consent calendar? Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a
motion.
motion. No.
She beat you. Okay, okay,
I'll second.
okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All ayes. Thank you. Right, next item is item 8 is city administrator.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council and staff. Public, on behalf of the city of Guadalupe and the successor agency to the redevelopment agency of the city of Guadalupe, all the signatures on the compensation agreements for Al's Union have been executed. I just found out. And so the attorneys will work together on preparing a grant deed that conveys the title to the Al's Union property to the city. Just want to give you an update on that.
Good.
And then today bids for the first bid opening for the Central Park renovation project. I'm gonna pass these out to you. And these are unaudited, but
That happened today, right?
yeah, that happened
Yeah.
today at 2. And here's, I just left to share with you the report for the bid. And it's under budget. So Jeff will tabulate all that if he hasn't already. Also, at 3:00, the Guadalupe Transit Hub project, there were 2 bids that came in and also within the budgeted amount, and I'll pass those out. I'll give one to the clerk as well. And that concludes my report. Yes, it is. It's on the website. So for the Central Park renovation project, the 4 bids that were received, Quincon Inc., $3,420,000. Guyani Companies, $3,547,000. V Lopez Juniors and Sons, $3,527,000. SW Construction, $3,406,000. Very close. Those are all very close. And for he wants to give me. Huh? I thought you gave me an extra copy. Sorry, that's okay. And for the Guadalupe Transit Hub project, there were 2 bids. One was JF Will Company, Inc., $1,617,000, and Taylor Jane Construction, $1,827,000. It's my understanding that JF they're experts in building skate parks.
Well, are they gonna build a skate park over there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Geez, what am I thinking? No, there's one other on the other end.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think I'm nervous.
Well, maybe they should get together with Quincon.
I have a quick question. Todd, what was the budget for the projects? Do you know? You said they were under budget, but what was budgeted?
Jeff, could you stand up for that one?
I just happened to have that document open here, so let me just bring it back up.
Put you on the spot there.
Yeah. Budget. So the total budget available for the Central Park renovation project was $4.7 million. So that includes the design and also construction management and things like that. So the engineer's estimate for it was 3.8 million. So we're even under the engineer's estimate. On the transit hub project, we are very close to budget. The budgeted amount was 1.6 million. So we might have to transfer a little bit of funds. We have some funds still available from our AHSC grant that we received with the Housing Authority. And we just had a meeting last week to talk about maybe reallocating some of those monies. I wanted to see how these bids came in for this project. So they will be covered by the grants monies.
Let's auction off the caboose, although it's not ours.
My understanding is that the Santa Maria Valley Rail wants
Take
it
it
back.
back, yeah.
So
Wow.
I told them to remove it or else we'll remove it.
Okay, thank you.
Well.
Okay, anything else?
No, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along, Director of Public Safety, Chief Cash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, and our community. I'll try to be as concise as possible. The Christmas parade, I like to thank all the staff. Everyone got together from Park and Rec, Human Resources, our engineer, Public Works, Planning, and we kind of spread everything through. And then our Park and Rec director finished up all the paperwork with the Kiwanis, and everything was submitted. So now we're just waiting for Caltrans, as we usually do. Over the weekend, I was on a chief's panel in Santa Maria for the NAACP for the county of Santa Barbara and SLO. Only 2 chiefs showed up, and so we got very good press, and I feel sorry for the ones who did not show up. They kind of let their feelings be known, but it was a very good panel on policing and immigration. And they were really interested in the different things that all the other communities are really doing. We're working with the insurance companies because of a rating that we received for our fire department. Unfortunately, our rating went down due to staffing, but we're working on a plan. Some people in our community are receiving notices that either their insurance, their fire insurance is going to be canceled unless we were able to rectify our rating system. And I've spoken with the ISO, the company that does this, and we have a plan in place and some letters that'll be sent out. So right now we're just trying to get all the people that are receiving these letters because they're receiving from different insurance companies. So I have a letter that I'm putting together that will address some of those issues so that we can do something long-term. As far as schools, everyone is very much aware of the traffic accident that occurred a couple days ago with a young man who was going through the crosswalk at Obispo in Maine, and he was hit by a car. The news has been contacting us about it. I've been to the hospital, met with the family and the young man, and then when he came home, I was at their home. And we discussed everything. The parent is really understanding, so we're working with them. We're also working with the school, the junior high. We're trying to address a lot of the young people that are not wearing helmets. And that was part of the case that we had here. So working with the school, they're either going to seize some of the scooters that come by and then have the parents come. And so we said that we would definitely work with whatever design or whatever plan that they have, that we will work with them. We're working with our human resources manager here. We just lost one of our fire captains. He accepted a position with the Los Angeles County Fire Department. And so he left, I think last Friday was his last day. So we'll be looking to fill one of those positions. As far as code compliance, we're working on the beautification of the city along with the beautification team. So we're addressing things citywide. And it's one of those things, you're never going to make everybody happy, but it's something that everyone really recognizes needs to be happening. We're working with a veterans cycling group. They'll be coming through town October 23rd. Right now, they're planning to stop at Leroy Park. They contacted our office just for any assistance going through Guadalupe. It's about 48 veterans. It's a 500-mile trek. Start from Santa Cruz down to Port Hueneme. Okay. Sorry.
Say that again.
Yeah, south of here. So one thing that we talked on the phone is they're stopping at Leroy Park just to do a bathroom and water. But they asked for our assistance, and I let them know that we're a very honorable veterans community and welcome them. After they leave us, they're heading to Orcutt to the American Legion for lunch. And so I've sent an email out to our American Legion to see if they would somewhat to participate so we can honor all our veterans. We just had this recent storm that just came through, and it was a great opportunity for our city to do a training and check on our emergency preparedness with the help of our city administrator and our public works and human resources. Every department reported out as far as their preparation, where our emergency supplies were. We had the streets division making sure that all our drains were clear. We've learned a lot from that 2023 flooding in the area. So this was a great opportunity for all departments to really work together. And I really want to give kudos for all our department heads. Everyone stepped up with all the information we put out and everyone did their checks, and we're in a good spot. One thing that we did find out is some of our AEDs were out of compliance, but I have a grant that's coming in with through the Fire Chiefs Association and the 1805. They're going to supply us with AEDs. So I just got to finish that, but we'll be getting a lot of free AEDs, and we'll put those the senior center, the veterans, and here at City Hall, the ones that need to be replaced. Also I think it was last weekend, if anyone did not get a chance to attend the Shumash powwow, I got an invite a couple years ago by some of the council, and that was such an eye opener. And if you haven't been, it's really amazing to watch that ceremony and all the people that do show up there. It was really good, and there's a lot of roots with Guadalupe in that connection. So I think it's yearly, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a well-attended event, and I would ask anybody, please, to definitely show up on that. Last but not least is it's one of those things where we look and see where the community is pointing us at different issues, and we always look back at the crime stats, and it's interesting. Yes, we do pay attention to Facebook and all the other things, and when you get written about basketball hoops and other things like that, you kind of take a step back and says, if that's our only problems here in Guad, we're doing pretty well. We're still in the top 15 as far as safest cities in California, as far as our crime stats. And that's something that we're always going to really strive to keep that going and still listen to our constituents to see what their needs are. With that, that's my report. Thank you very much.
I know Christina may have some, I appreciate what she's doing out there and others at the 166 and Highway 1 intersection. What do you see out there in terms of traffic obeying?
I see a lot of vehicles, heavy moving fast vehicles, and none of them are wanting to yield to pedestrians. Not only am I helping pedestrians cross the street, but there's also seniors and adults that these cars are bailing to yield to. And that really worries me as a mother. These are my neighbors, these are my friends, these are my family, these are my students. And so it does worry me when I see vehicles not stopping. I just think I seen a lot of red flags these past few days just standing out there. And I encourage anybody just to be there between the hours of 7:40 and 8:10 just to see what's going on that area.
Okay. Please.
And I definitely appreciate getting out there and helping, because we've been asking for a lot of assistance. And I get to see most of these faces there in the morning. One is driving the bus, so he sees where I'm at. And I get the other who drops off her children at the elementary school. So it's one of those things we look at. This is new, and it's conditioning. When we started off, everyone knew what was happening over at the elementary school with the illegal U-turns and everything. We put the delineators down, and I was directing traffic over there. We've gotten that a lot under control. And so the parents understand, we've got them to understand what the traffic flow is. We've seen over at McKenzie, they have switched the crossing guards, and it's been an upgrade, but the kids understand what they're supposed to do. And so a lot of times this is seasonal with some of the workers coming, and that's a heavy part of the traffic. And so we're working to hopefully kind of change thought processes there on 166 and Obispo with getting out, doing traffic control. But it's one of those things, we have to be honest with ourselves. There's only 2 of us in the morning, and we got 3 schools. And so I'll spend most of my mornings with the traffic issues over at McKenzie, or I'm sorry, over at Mary Buren. And then we'll try to get to the junior high as much as we can. So we're always looking for volunteers to kind of help. It is still very busy, as you stated. And so we're just hopefully waiting for Caltrans to kind of step in, but we're going to try to alleviate whatever kind of situations and problems as much as we can. And if we get any kind of help, we had another mom. She was there this morning. I think you saw her with her mom sign.
Yeah, it does worry me though,
I've never met
because
her
people
before.
sometimes aren't stopping. And so
You're
they're
right.
in the middle of the road and the kid is stopping, and I'm having to put my body in between that vehicle. And that puts me at risk for my kids not having me to come home. And so it does worry me. I know that you shared that your concern and the school's concern was without a helmet youth riding. I don't see that as the biggest issue right now. I really do see that people are failing to yield at that stop sign, failing to stop for pedestrians. I would like to see if the board, the council would support in writing a letter to Caltrans. So just to make sure that we can have that on record of showing our biggest concern and that we are hoping for some changes.
I think with that, I emailed to David. I had last Thursday, I met with, we have a North County SBCAG meeting, and there's a lot of information in terms of who is the point person now at Caltrans. His name is Finn James. And he's kind of the point person when we have issues, and we need to put more pressure on Caltrans. I know when we met with them, they're saying, well, I can't do this, we can't do that, we can't, but when someone's getting hurt and killed or could get killed, it's not something that we just can't say, well, somebody needs to do more, and I think Caltrans needs to do more. So that information is with David and with us also, to have Finn James come in at 7:30 in the morning and stand out there and have him help direct traffic or to be part of this, but because their offices in San Luis Obispo, and there are many projects they have going. But I think it comes down to them really understanding what we're faced with, especially with the 3 schools. And, and especially with this one, because people just don't slow down. They don't stop. I wanted to check out the bridge there at Obispo Street, and people were just running the stop signs. They're not even caring about it. Then if you add a kid to that, when somebody's in a crosswalk, they have to go all the way through. And what happens sometimes, a kid goes halfway through and then they take off. But anyway, let's put more pressure on Finn James and see, get him out here in the morning and get their staff out there, understand really what we're facing here in Guadalupe. So thank you, Christina. Any more comments? Go ahead, please.
You mentioned the fire insurance. I had a community member reach out to me about that. Have we done any community outreach on what the issue is? Because apparently a lot of people are getting their insurances raised. I don't know. Is there a unified message or something that we could get out to inform anything that we're doing? I'm not sure I haven't gotten a letter. So thankfully my insurance is still okay.
Our understanding is about 150 residents have gotten are at risk. But we don't know which ones, because I'm always looking at one insurance company, but I guess there's a lot of insurance agents.
State Farm.
And some of the agents are contacting us and some not. So we're kind of waiting till people contact us to be able to kind of give them the information, because there is no one size fit all. Some are asking for what's the distance between the fire station and their home. Some are asking for what's the distance between a certain fire hydrant and their home, or fire hydrant in the station. Some are asking for a letter of how many personnel do we have. So it's kind of hard to put out a real message. So we're just, when we get contacted, we ask them, if please have your agent call us, and if they can see who else within their clients, so that we can reach it that way, because we don't know how to really reach some of the individuals.
So I guess there was some hearsay, or I got half information, because like I said, this is the second time I'm hearing about it. The first was a community member, but it sounds like there's misinformation or information about possibly an administrative error that happened, and that's why the rates went up. Okay, so it is just a matter of where their homes are and compared to a fire station. And did you mention staffing when you were talking?
And that's the thing. I've been talking with the people who make the ratings. They haven't really shared what their criteria is. How do they get to a certain number? And so I'm working with our fire captain Schmidt, because he's been dealing with this for a long time. And we used to use numbers of our PCFs, part-time firefighters. Well, we don't have any of those anymore. So it makes our staffing look different. But then too, there's also concerns of what our water pressure is. And so there's a myriad of things that I have to look on their sheet. And so I can only respond really right now. I'm waiting for the company. I'm putting together a plan that I can send to the ISO, but that's going to take a year for them to do evaluation. But in the meantime, I'm trying to work with whatever agents that contact us that I can give them a letterhead from my office to say, this is what we have. And then they can keep people on their rolls until we can correct this whole situation a year from now. So it's still kind of
So I guess
Up in
the
the air.
message is have your agent contact the city and get the
Police department.
specific, okay,
Yeah.
the police department and get the specific information for each individual's home.
yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
On a completely different subject, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
There's this article in, I don't know where I got this, but it has to do with a new law that went into effect January 1st, AB 413. That has to do with prohibiting drivers from stopping or parking vehicles within 20 feet of corners, intersections, and crosswalks, even if they are unmarked, according to the state, and that the governor had signed the bill, and it apparently took effect this year on January 1st. AB 413, is that I almost got hit today because I couldn't, there was a big truck, I was on, where was I? No. 10th, going 10th and Guadalupe Street.
Guadalupe.
I want to turn
By the
left.
Basque House.
Yeah,
Yes.
Basque House. There was
Yes.
this big, like a U-Haul truck,
Mhm.
and it was right near the end, and I couldn't see, and I kept easing out, and it appeared to be clear. And so I went, and there was a car went like that. But even in Treasure Park, for years, there have been traffic issues. You can't see on when you're trying to go onto Obispo. So I just wanted, I didn't know there was a law, actually, a sister-in-law of mine mentioned this to me a couple months ago, and I had no idea. Then I read it. And so I just wanted to bring it up. Is that something we're dealing with, or ticketing, or giving citations for, or not yet?
You say yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Chief. What are we doing?
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. No, we've seen some of those, and have we ticketed those at this moment? No, because most of the times we see that they're unoccupied as the vehicle. It's not like a driver is sitting there and we tell them to kind of move on. And so, either we're going to try to give it a parking site, but I'm not aware of that particular section, but I will be now.
Every street in Guadalupe has that issue. We need to let people know, you don't want to start ticketing them right away, but let them know that there's that 20-foot gap. That happens all the time when you're trying to go from any of our streets going to 11th Street with all the traffic that's going back and forth. On Olivera Street, for instance, I don't know if that's where you were going, Olivera and okay, well, this one, you go Olivera Street, hitting 11th Street, and there's cars parked on the very corner, and you have to sneak out trying to see, and then you've got all kinds of traffic coming in both ways. So somehow we need to look at that. Maybe as Amelia's pointing out, we need to look at it at your department and see what we can do with that. Because someone's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get hurt. And especially when the ADU is coming up and they say, where do you park? We park on the street. And we have quite a few ADUs, and the lack of parking is going to put people on the street. So it's a tough one, but someone's going to get hurt. So
Mayor, if I just have a brief comment, I know Mayor just mentioned like not ticketing so quickly. I would like to see us not being so reactive. I know some of our city goals are how can we properly connect with our community, messaging, education. So if there is going to be this new, it is in play, but instead of being reactive, how can we make sure that we get that message out to our community effectively? Whether that's messaging via online. I know the fire department actually does a wonderful job. They, I think, do monthly statistics on the help that they provide us.
okay, any more questions, Chief? Next item, Director of Public Works, David.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, community members. So this month, we had, Rainscape, our landscape contractor, start in Pasadena, last week. I think last week. And we did start to remove speed bumps within the Pasadena community. The plan currently is, we will maintain speed bumps, the 3 speed bumps in front of the school, and the one on Manzanita approaching the stop sign, and the one on Arroyo Seco southbound approaching the stop sign. That is to just ensure that we provide as much safety as we can for the students, the faculty, everybody are going to that school, and people just walking in the neighborhood. We do have those on order. We were able to find them through a local vendor. We're still looking at about 4-week turnaround before we can get everything on site and ready to install. So we will be going forward from there. There will be a softer approach and departure, so they're not going to be as rough. So our goal is to maintain safety, but ease any kind of mechanicals for vehicles and any traffic in the area. We finished the fence around the PD, the police department's transformer. We're still kind of waiting on all the generators and everything to start to show up before we move forward with any kind of electrical work in that area. I think that mainly affects the east side of their building. And then we did start talks with a company called Haven Energy, which will do a grant. They do all the legwork, and they will provide all city facilities with backup batteries. So it's a 0 cost 10-year contract. We're still kind of trying to work that out, but that will be able to work in unison with the generators. And then city facilities that maybe don't have generators or the charging locations, things like that. So we're trying to ease up on some city costs. Dudek is still working our urban forestry management program. They were at the parade. They had a tent. They've done 2 community events via Zoom. I think Councilmember Hernandez was on the last one. I think there's been about 10 people participate total between both groups. So we're still working that. And then we're getting ready to do our fats, oils, and grease inspections coming the end of this month and the middle of next month, with all the businesses and restaurants and everything downtown. So we have here business as usual, pretty much for everything else. Some graffiti removal. A couple offices have been bombed for fleas. We moved the emergency C trains from the 303 complex over to the Bonita Tank complex, as well as backup generators and floodlights. Kind of working with the chief and the police and fire safety folks to try to make that kind of like a central location for natural disaster kind of assets. Just with my experience with doing military stuff, when you have a centralized location, it makes everything a little bit easier instead of having everything spread out in multiple different locations. Like Todd did or said earlier, you know, taking some of my report, we got the bids and everything for the transit hub and the park. The SCADA contractor was out today. They started doing that work, doing the programming on starting the IT side of the install and site visits for different relays. The water department started servicing fire hydrants, multiple customer service calls, meter changes. There was a temporary shutdown with State Water over the weekend a couple of weeks ago. They had a leak. They fixed it. Everything's operating perfectly now. And then wastewater is working pretty good right now. All our numbers are doing pretty well. Our effluent's not violating. So kudos to those guys out there. They got the system going well. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Please.
Just a couple quick ones, David. You talked about the speed bumps that are remaining.
Mhm.
Can you clarify which ones will be removed?
I think they've all been removed except for on Niños. There's 2 on Niños still that we're trying to make it to where people don't try to speed through right there, because that's the only, I guess, like the last ditch effort to kind of keep traffic going around on Buena Vista and Arroyo Seco. But once we start replacing the speed bumps in front of the school on Arroyo Seco, we will pull the last 2 on Niños Drive.
One other quick question. There's on Guadalupe Street across, what is that, on Sixth Street, where that, you told me, that lift station? That construction that's there. Do you know how long that's going to take before that's cleared out?
So that's got probably, well, it's hard to put a timeline because we're pending permits from Caltrans so that they can tie into the sewer line right there in the center of the street. So we've already been waiting 3 weeks. So to give you a definitive answer, I can't really do that at this time.
Ballpark?
2 months.
Okay.
Two
Yeah,
and a
just
half.
curious. It's been there for a while. I just wondered. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a quick comment. The maintenance by Point South, some of the bushes are a little too big and it's easy to get whacked when I'm riding my bike or my kid is, and he's like, "Oh, mom, that hurts." So I have to slow down. So I'm wondering if we can just make sure that that area is not so bushy. So it is pedestrian friendly and people aren't getting jammed.
You're talking sidewalk?
Yeah.
Plants? Okay.
Thank you.
Aside from what David reported, I just want to mention, since I got him on the hot seat, is that part of our city beautification effort was to actually plant, or we purchased half wine barrels, 12 so far, and we purchased 10 about a month ago. And then Ball Horticulture, actually, the city staff dropped the wine barrels off at Ball Horticulture. They actually filled the wine barrels with potting soil plus flowers. And then last Friday, Ball took those 10 wine barrels over to the Vets Plaza, where city staff and volunteers, some in the audience, actually distributed those using, what do you call it? It's not a forklift. What do you call it?
We use a skid steer with a
Skid
fork
steer, okay.
attachment.
And actually ran those things over to 10 different locations. And Ball again donated their potting soil and the flowers, and they'll change the flowers once these others die. So they're doing that. So thanks staff for and you and Rudy for, because they're pretty heavy, and
Yeah.
Michael will attest to that. Michael Jimenez, they look nice, and they're no charge to the to the business, although some of the business are donating, the hardware store is donating potting soil. So there's you'll start to see those. There's another 10 more that we're gonna purchase and hit every business in the downtown area. So I hope Caltrans is not recording this, but we don't want to be, that's Caltrans property, but we can move them, but they look good. So thank you for David and your
Yes,
staff.
sir. If I may, a couple save rounds. I attended the Veterans Open House over the weekend I saw you there, Amelia. Chief stopped by real quick. He was too busy, but I just want to give a shout out to Deke and the fellows and the ladies over there at the Vietnam Veterans of America and the American Legion. They're doing great work over there. It's a great thing that they got going. And, anytime anybody has a chance to stop over, Amelia gave me a tour of the historical room and told me some stories, her family's and some pictures and stuff. It was very good event that they had there. And then a shout out to Chief. I seen him this morning directing traffic, and it's not very often that you see a chief of police directing traffic. So just like a professional shout out, that was very nice to see. Great.
Yeah, I think that veterans gathering, which was sponsored by the Post 982, the Veterans of America, plus the American Legion Post 371. And it's basically it was an open house. It was free for people to go in and eat. So it's a matter of connecting with the community and making sure that that building belongs to the city. The priority is the veterans, but the priority is also citizens of Guadalupe. So thank you, David. Anything else from David? All right, where are we now? Regular business item, approval of a construction agreement with Precon Industries for the renovation of Royal Theater. Mr. Roddenberry.
Good evening, Mayor Julian, council members, staff, and community members. My name is Tom Branderbury. I'm the project manager for the Royal Theatre renovation project. We're here to ask the council's approval of the contract with Precon Industries as the responsive bidder, lowest bidder for the bid package to do the renovation of the Royal Theatre. Just as an FYI, part of this staff report does talk about new market tax credits. And the consultant that we've been working with, Albert Lemus, is on the YouTube listening in. And if there are any direct questions that you would want from him, I'm assuming we can, there's allow for communications, right? There have been in the past.
So he would need to be on the Zoom meeting? He would have to join the Zoom?
Yeah, he said he had joined the Zoom, but no. Okay.
I know that.
Well, we just go where we can, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be good, yeah. Most of the past, we've talked about the Royal Theatre's been on council's agenda for some time now. So I'd like to just start with where we are modern day, what we've just done recently. So the council gave us approval to redesign the project to make it less costly to a 1-story from a 3-story. That process ended with the EDA approving the plans and the bid packages and all of the necessary information. We put the bid package out sometime in June, the end of June, with a due date on September the 9th. The results of that, I will say we have 4 bids, which is actually quite good for projects, much better than we did for the 3-story project. You do have a handout that does show you all of the bids that came in, their bid amount for the base bid, and the bid amount for each of the alternates. There were 5 alternates in the bid package. So you should have that there. You will notice that the bid package required that the base bid was the determining factor. In this particular case, the lowest base bid was actually AMG Associates. They had the very lowest bid. However, if you look at their alternate bids in comparison to the 3 other contractors that bid, they are incredibly higher or incredibly lower. And when we contacted AMG, the idea was we wanted to be able to, based on their alternate 1 price, which was 120,000, versus everybody else's bid, 700,000, 600,000, 700,000. that we wanted to include alternates into the contract. It turned out in my conversation with AMG that their pricing of alternate one was mistaken in that they did not include the price of equipment. So the actual AV equipment, they thought it was just installing the AV equipment. So they were 600 plus short in comparison to the other bidders. They wrote a letter, which you also have in your package, indicating that if we were to include alternate one in the contract, they would not be able to take the contract and they would have to withdraw. It was decided with the staff, and that included Jeff, myself, the design team, and actually Philip was a part of that discussion of what do we do now? It was decided that for the benefit of the city and the long-term project plans is that we would include all of the alternates in the contract, not just one, but all 5 of them. And that with all 5 of them in, there would also be a contingency in there that says without the funding, we would not move forward with any of the alternates. But as funding became available, we would then add individual alternates in the order they are in to the contract. Based on that, my verbal conversation and phone conversation with AMG is they were not interested in going forward with being with their contract with the city. So we have chosen the next one in line, which is they are the next one, Precon Industries are the next one that the lowest base bid. But if you look at Precon's total bid, they are also the lowest of all 4 of them. So they are the lowest as a total bid. They're lower than AMG and they're also lower on Quincon. And so they turned out to be the lowest because we were adding all of the alternates in there. Anyway, so we're asking for Precon be the contractor, and we're asking for the council's approval for the mayor to sign that contract. There is some numbers. There are 2 other things that I put in this that are not directly related to the contract and asking the council to approve it, but they are necessary information, I think, for the council to look at. One of them is a discussion around new market tax credits, which do we want to put that money into the project because we would have additional funds for the project, but there are some concerns of what they're asking for and what we would have to do to get their money in this project. And so there is an attachment. We'll talk about that next as well. We also have some numbers in here, which shows you what the status, because there was, if you remember, there was a lot of questions about how much, what's the gap? Because we now have a bid, we now have a reasonably good definition of what the gap is. As it stands, and you can see it on page 3 in red, it is 2,954,000, and we can simply say less than 3 million, just less. And that's on page 3. It breaks out. It is based on Precon's Industries bids. It includes the 5 alternates in the price. It includes all of the funding that we have to date. So in essence, from a capital campaign perspective, that's the target. I'd like to briefly go over the new markets pros and cons, new market tax credit pros and cons. And then I think I think that covers all of my conversation, and then questions. The way that new market tax credits work is there has to be a certain type of project for them to approve it, for the investors to be interested in it. We tried last year or the year before, actually, to see if we could get some bites from investors on a performing arts center, which is what we have. And there's no interest in performing arts centers. Today, the interest in new market tax credit projects is education, commercial, and medical. Those are the types of projects that investors with new market tax credits are interested in now. So I reconnected with a new market tax credit person that I had spoken to a few years back. And we walked through this project. And basically, to make this project viable for investment, we'd have to put something commercial into this building. And commercial means a storefront. So the conversations I've had with Alberto and with the design team is, how do we put a commercial building in here? And the only place, obviously, that we could put it in is what is presently planned for as the amphitheater. That would be the only place that we could put in a building. Now, there's some conflict between the new market people and the design team of whether we can have a big enough building. So that's the premise of the rest of this that we're going to walk through. And his information, by the way, is on that page, is on the handout that I gave you of, so you can follow up with questions. This is not, the other thing is, I'm not really asking the council to decide on anything about new markets, but just to hear out what new markets are and how it affects this project. And if there's interested in it, I think we may need to come back and go into detail and more detail and actually have a resolution that says add it in. There's no resolution on that subject tonight. So there has to be a commercial. If you look at the numbers down below, these are the critical numbers. To build something, and this is not an engineer's cost estimate, but a rough number is about 1.4 million to build a 25,000 square foot building, 2,500 square foot building where the amphitheater is now. The other thing to be aware of is, of all the money that new markets could give us, 650,000 has to be in a loan. So if you see there, you see 650,000 in a loan, and then you see 1.3 million as investment. That's cash money we get, but there's also 650,000 that is in the form of a loan. If you take the 1.4 million to build, and you take those numbers, the net proceeds to the city would be about 600,000 for the project. So all of that, thinking, does the city want to hold a debt of 650,000 for a 30-year period? There are some good benefits of taking this loan on the front end. They take a lot of the costs, and very little is paid on the very front end for upstart of a commercial building. But ultimately, it's $650,000 loan, and it's the interest rate is the interest rate of what it is today. And I think Albert's not able to answer this, but I believe it was 7% interest rate on the loan. Everything is structurally correct. So the nonprofit the city's nonprofit or the nonprofit Guadalupe Community Action Agency would be the entity that receives the investments and also be the one carrying the loan. So I think those are the main things to think about in relationship to new markets and whether there's an interest in that. Do we want to stop the project, or do we want to add more design to the project? Because that's what we would end up doing. The design team's statement was to meet Alberto's request for size of a building. You'd almost have to connect that commercial building to the one-story building and move the entrance up to Guadalupe Street. That would mean a complete new redesign. And I think that's all I have. You also have a package here, which is the site plan. You'll see some areas in red. This is Andrew, the design teams, Andrew Goodwin Designs, comments on adding a building to where the amphitheater should be. I can take questions now.
Okay. We start on the left. Okay. But
Going back to the bids, do we have any concern on alternate 3 with Precon because it's so much lower than the others, just like we had the same concern with AMG's site, so 1. So I mean, noticing that it's just significantly less.
Yeah.
What have we addressed that?
Well, the way the contract reads is they have to do it for the price that they gave us. So we feel strong, we feel like we have control over that number. And that they're going to have to take it at that price. If there's, I think we gave them some wiggle room in relationship to, tariffs and new prices and that sort of thing. But other than that, they have to do it for the price they have. So I'm actually of the opinion that that's a good one.
Gene, anything? I'm gonna go back, not back, but I'm just gonna reference the new market tax credit. And we've talked about that before between us in terms of the change in the plan,
Mhm.
the delays, the loan. Basically the delay in moving this forward. So I'm of the opinion is that we don't go toward new market tax credit at this point, just to get things moving along.
Just not.
Not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's my opinion. And then I hate the thought of 650,000 and a loan and the interest rate and so.
I like the idea of having 600 for the project,
Yeah, but
It
but
gives
that's a
us
long
our
time.
audio for it gives us the audio for the theater.
Yeah.
But yes, it does come with a lot of strings.
And then the other thing, even the design and looking at having that commercial building in the front, just kind of there's other commercial sites in the downtown area. So how is that going to impact if we put a commercial there? How is that going to impact the other businesses? So
There's an argument.
pardon? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
There is an argument that you're going to more likely get somebody in that new building rather than the vacant building. But I agree, it doesn't necessarily. I think most staff, when we've talked about this, have indicated we've got enough buildings that need to be commercially vented.
I have a couple more
Go ahead,
things, but
please.
these might not be for Tom. These might be for Todd. And we didn't really cover part of the report regarding the capital campaign, but let me let me address a couple of things. Is this report it is asking that staff is asking for advice from the council on how to proceed with the capital campaign. I know that there has been some work done on that, but are we addressing that this evening?
Do you want to answer it? I'm sorry, I wrote that section of the report, so I was going
Sure,
to
yeah.
answer it. Because it does seem kind of weird. Tom's the author of the report, but then that section's talking about him, so I'm not surprised he didn't talk about it. But just in full disclosure, I wrote that for the benefit of staff. Yes, we're just looking for some direction. As I mentioned in there, that there was a previous discussion to, nominate Tom as the coordinator of the capital campaign, and that was in the context of the dissolving of the capital campaign committee in favor of the oversight committee, which we're working on still. But that's more of a long-term project, I think, at this point. Although the capital campaign probably come within that purview as well, but we need to get started on it. So we wanted to get some direction from the council, even informally in this item, just to move forward. I know that there has been some progress made. We decided not to wait on getting certain things ready to go, like some guidelines. I mean, Tom could probably answer that better than me. But we would like just some input from the council, some direction on how it wants to go. Does it want to have us bring an item forward to do an RFP for a professional consultant and hire them, or do we just want to have Tom step in, or what? And that's all that section is about.
I have an opinion on that. I think that Tom's gonna charge for that, so we should probably, because is that written in his contract currently?
No, it would be an amendment to the scope of the contract to add that as a area of work, but I asked Tom about that earlier. It would be the same hourly rate that he charges for the rest of the project.
I'm hoping maybe we can explore other options at this point. That's my opinion on that. But mostly because we have the other thing going on regarding the oversight committee. And I'd like to have their opinion on that particular thing. So I know we're in a time crunch, but I just think that we have the reason that we got that together in the first place was to have some oversight on various things.
If I may, Councilmember Furness, the council would still have to make the decision because that body is an advisory body. And I understand, I just can't, it depends on how long we take to get the committee going. And I don't know, Todd can answer if we've had any applicants at this point.
We got one applicant.
Yeah, and that's why I'm concerned
and
about
the
the
deadline
timing of that.
is tomorrow at 3.
Tomorrow at 3, did you
Yep,
say?
yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll have to extend that time period if we only have one, but we are working on it. And you saw it on the website. But that's why if you might sit back, I'd like to look at it. Thanks. If that's one reason why I hesitated on that suggestion about waiting for their opinion on the capital campaign. I would just assume the council take action and decide. It's the council's campaign. Council should decide how it's run and approve the guidelines and who's going to do it, in my opinion.
And then, okay, let's say we decide Tom to run that, which I've seen some of the information he's given out. Good job. Stoked on that. How does any committee that he puts together, because the last one we had was subject to the Brown Act, how would the next one not be?
I wasn't sure he was going to put a committee together, but if it was, I'm sure it would be more under his purview. It wouldn't have anything to do with the council appointing the members, and that's how you avoid the Brown Act issue.
Presently, I have asked in social media and emails for volunteers, and that's all I'm asking for.
And that's actually very good point. Thank you. I thought that the people that were in the last committee were volunteers because I volunteered.
Yes, they were, but unfortunately, and again, that's why I didn't catch it right away, is because they were volunteers, but the council took the action to appoint them, and that's a technicality. If the council just said, hey, we'd love some volunteers to join this committee and Tom's going to handle it, that would have been fine, which is essentially what he's recommending now. But the council actually considered the candidates and appointed them, including yourself. So
yeah,
that brought it in within the Brown Act. And
okay,
like
got
I said,
it.
that's why I didn't catch it either, because it was like volunteers.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And there are actually 3 volunteers here tonight.
I know of at least I don't, I don't know. I know most of them. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for volunteering.
Comments? Oh, I just have one other thing about the new market tax credits. I understand where you're coming from, but as Tom said, we didn't ask for a decision on that. We were just looking for some feedback. This is something we could revisit later if the situation warranted it and it became appropriate to discuss it. And staff will bring that to the council if that ever happens. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to assume to not move any further with new market tax credits unless the council gave me direction otherwise.
Well, it's not what I said, Tom.
I know.
I understand you're not going to move forward, but if the possibility, if the reason, if there was a reason to move forward in the future, then we would bring it to the council for a decision, but we're not intending that, obviously. Just to be clear what I was saying too.
And I would like to give a shout out to Alberto, who somehow didn't get in is every piece of work he's done with me, and I've done hours with him, has been pro bono.
Good.
So giving us the information, answering questions, putting numbers together has all been done voluntarily.
Thank them for us.
Will do.
Okay.
I just had a quick question, Todd. If there was a grant made available, who does that fall under? Is that Tom or is that Isaiah's? Just previously.
I mean, it'd be a team effort. I mean, it would be, it just depends on the situation and what we're going for. I mean, in a lot of cases, if it's a federal grant, you can't apply for another federal grant on top of a federal grant. And so if there is a grant out there, we can, we'd probably just approach it in a team way because we can't do it without his knowledge. So we'd be,
I look for grants,
Yeah,
and if I
yeah.
ever find a grant that I think has legs, I bring it to the staff.
yeah.
There are just a few nonprofit foundations that come to mind and I don't see them donating. So I was just curious what that looks like.
I do have a number of them that I have contacted. I have about 3 or 4 of them that are going to contribute. but
I
they
would
just
love
haven't
to
at this-
learn a little more information on that. Maybe who has said yes or no, and that would be awesome.
If I may, it's definitely our intent to provide that information, but as Tom reminded me, we still have to finalize the gift policy that's on the unscheduled items. And I said, Tom, I would move that up in priority because we're really moving fast in that direction
Yes.
now. So that's one reason why we're not saying anything, because there is some interest in, for example, naming rights.
The other thing, there's a lot to do with these projects. It's a lot about exploration and a lot of things you just explore and you try to find out. And so it's not everything's always final. So a lot of times staff behind the scenes are working on things that may or may not work, including tax credits and those kinds of things. I just want to throw that out there that a lot of times it's exploratory. And so we're just trying to find ways to drum up money. And I think Tom's been doing that.
Some of the foundations are also asking at this point, because they haven't finalized numbers or anything like that, that they wanted to keep it confidential. So it's one of those things, but I'd be happy to talk about it offline.
Okay, well,
One more thing for me.
please.
Okay. This is probably for Todd, but Tom included the spending to date. Sorry, Todd. And I think that this is just contract amounts. Are we still working on the actuals to date?
Yes, I mean, I know that we've been working with the interim finance director right now and Tom and I and her, so we're still working on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I might
there's
add that this 9.7, if it is a standalone, it would allow for the building or constructing the actual shell.
Mhm, mhm.
So if absence of everything else, you're covered there.
You were going to say something, Tom?
No, I'm sorry, I forgot to talk about the actual soft cost numbers.
Okay.
There is a mixture of those, and it does show you that there is a mixture of contract amounts, which where it's a contract amount doesn't mean we've spent that much. It just that's their maximum. Where there is no contract, for example, with Philip, there is no contract. That is their spending to date. So that's the 2 different types of numbers that you have. The issue is the spending to date is not been reconciled. That's the issue.
That has been my issue for several months.
And quite
Okay.
frankly, some of that is on the city itself. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna, they have at least one request to speak, and then we'll we'll go from there. Mr. Ramirez?
Good evening. Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Mira, and I'm a community member with continued investment and interest in the success of the Royal Theater renovation and reopening. I'm speaking tonight to recommend that the council separate this report and the issues and approve the construction for Precon Industries while delaying any decision on the capital campaign and its members. I recognize that the capital campaign is not included in the actual resolution, but since it was mentioned in the report, I think it's important to bring up. I believe it's crucial that the Royal Theater Oversight Committee be formed and given the chance to meet before any further capital campaign efforts are started or further communication to the public is made. This will allow the Oversight Committee and the city the opportunity to get more accurate understanding of the current financials of the project. As you guys just mentioned, the reconciliation of the current spending is still not up to date or accurate. According to the report, potentially a little over $2 million has already been spent on various expenditures. Having accurate accounting is crucial to the capital campaign understanding its goals and will affect the messaging and communication moving forward. If the council does approve the capital campaign and Tom Branberry as the capital campaign coordinator this evening, I recommend that the city include a clause requiring that the capital campaign have a communication director who is separate from the coordinator, and that all further communication to the public be paused until until a communication director is assigned and the committee has presented to the council a fully formed plan along with a thoughtful approach to coordinated communication to the public that goes into the specifics of the ask and a full status report of the project so far. This will help instill trust and rebuild the community's confidence in the project and the team leading it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Any other comments out there from the public? We'll bring it back to the council. What's the wishes? We have a resolution 2025-57, which approves the agreement with the agreement for contractor services with Precon Industries. It does not include any of the capital campaign moving forward. I think we need to wait on it until we get our legs under us. This is very important to me to move on.
I
this.
would agree.
Any comments? Is there a motion to approve resolution 2025-57?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-57, approving an agreement for contractor services with Precon Industries for the Guadalupe Royal Theater revitalization project.
Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Fernez. Aye. Councilmember Villegas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Julian.
Aye. Resolution passes. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody that spoke, including staff and Mira. So we'll go to item number 12, future agenda items. We probably need to have that discussion on the capital campaign and we need to move that.
Extended or, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless somebody comes in by 3 o'clock.
Okay, well, we got some already on.
Okay.
Okay, announcements, council activity reports. Amelia?
Yeah, I just have a few on, let's see, September 28th, I attended the Guadalupe Bulldogs Gala, which is at the Elks, and that was very well received. And on October 4th, I was a member of 60 on a team that walked part of the Goleta Beach for suicide prevention, which was titled Out of the Darkness. And our team of 60 raised $3,600. I think the total for all the different individuals and teams was about 42,000. So that was kind of nice. October 2nd, I participated in the food bank. And let's see, on the 11th, as David mentioned, there was the American Legion open house, which I attended as well. And to repeat what Albert Nunez said on October 26th, which is Sunday, the Historical Society will have the Halloween at the old jail, and that is from 12 to 2.
Good. Anything? Christina?
I attended the Bulldogs Gala. I was also able to tour the CT at Hancock. It's so amazing the access that our students have. I also helped lead a hike with the Recreation Department. We just want to give a shout out to not only our NUFO, but to Ray Segovia, our hike leader. We took about maybe 3 hours total round trip out to the dunes, and it was just really amazing. I went to Santa Barbara and also saw the photo exhibition from Rod Rodell in regards to Guadalupe. This exhibit, I believe, was created in 1988 through 1989. And it was just really nice to see those photographs and his thought process on that. That's my end of my report.
Good, I'll be quick. Food Bank, October the 2nd, we saw about 175 families. Food Bank is, you know, there's some federal cuts to their money, so we're seeing a reduction in the amount of food that we're getting, so, but we're still getting it. On October 4th, I attended the Mayor's Ball, which is an annual event. We're all North County, we supported North County United Way programs that are geared for kids' education and family support. Mayors from Buellton, Santa Maria, Lampo, Guadalupe, and Solvang were there. What happens is that different agencies support these, and the Guadalupe was supported by Driscoll Berries, and they allocate money to the Santa Barbara County, North Santa Barbara County United Way. SBCAG, Santa Barbara Coast Association of Governments. We met last Wednesday, North Regional Office. We meet, there's 2 sites. The South County meets in South County. We meet in the North County to discuss North County projects. And so this coming Thursday, total SBCAG will be meeting here in Santa Maria to discuss everything that's coming before the SBCAG. And it was interesting to find out that there was CHP was allocated 3 months of money to patrol from Santa Maria to Guadalupe in terms of the traffic issues. And of that, they only had 17 tickets, and most of them were people passing on the shoulder, going around that, you know, the double lanes. So hopefully they'll be more visible out on Highway 166. Santa Barbara, let's see, we did the city beautification. I told you about that. There's the money that's being donated goes to the SB, our nonprofit. So, and it's earmarked for the beautification for different efforts. So I appreciate everybody that has donated to that, and also the volunteers that do go out and cut weeds and move barrels around, so especially city staff. That's all I had. We're going to, can we adjourn to, is there a motion to adjourn to closed session? Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye. All ayes. Thank you all.